I think woman empowerment is not a topic in West Sumatra because
They already empowered.
they already empowered.
So I'm just curious, is it a cultural thing, or is it like a family thing that you guys have, or what are those values that you guys are driven by?
Bring it like, you know, that what we are doing is actually will bring impact.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Guzelya, and today we're at Luminihsan's another episode. Today we will be talking about the legacy code, how families shape visionary women. Being in Indonesia for the last 6 years, I've been pretty much impressed by a lot of cultural and, I'd say spiritual also differences, that people have. There is a stronger sense of community. There's a lot of inspiration that unfortunately the global audience is not aware of. So one of the places where I found a lot of inspiration, I was impressed by the people behind, was Paragon Corp. Not only it is I'd say the beauty mogul of Indonesia, but also it's a intergenerational leadership system. And today I have the honor to welcome Dr. Sari Chairunnisa, who is the Deputy CEO of Paragon Corp. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Guzel, for the invitation.
Barakallah fiqh. I'm also super happy to have you here because we used to see each other at the more corporate setting.
Yes.
Yeah, how are you today?
Good. So we talked a lot about the schedule. So
I
very happy that
Alhamdulillah.
we finally found the schedule.
Exactly. Yeah. I was asking you for a while. We've been speaking a few times about it, and
Yeah.
you had a busy international schedule, and also after this session, you're flying.
Yeah, we'll be in Riyadh.
Yeah, mashallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for your journey.
Thank you.
So I'm like, when I first came to Indonesia, I went to a kajian event, which is, a lecture about Islam in a mosque. And it was, I forgot the name of the community, but it was pretty small community. And they were asking who came from the furthest destination, like in order to attend this kajian. And I just came from France. So I'm like, me? And then they asked me where you're from, like from France, and I'll be moving here soon because I'm getting married. And then they're like, okay, so thanks for being so brave, for telling that you're coming from so far. And this is your gift. And they gave me warda bag.
Oh, that is the first time?
Yes.
I don't know the story.
Yeah, it was like 8 years ago. Yeah, something like that. And then I got the warda, and I love the bag. I love the, and then I just opened it. And I started to test it in the car immediately. Like, where is this from? And then I remember my husband telling me it's an Indonesian brand. So then I was like, but how a beauty brand happens to be in a kajian in the mosque? So this was my first impression, right? So can you share a little bit about what is the Paragon Corp about?
Okay, so Paragon Corp, of course, it's maybe in a simple way, it's a beauty product manufacturer. But right now, I think we are trying to be, to be like the beauty and wellness company. But I think when we have to describe Paragon, I think we want to be remembered as a corporate that can bring it like, that what we are doing is actually will bring impact. So we don't want to be known as like a, the biggest Southeast Asian manufacturer, but we want to be well known as like a people-oriented corporate and how we can bring like, the vision into action. Yeah.
Wow, mashallah. And of course, we should definitely mention about Nurhayati Subakat, who is your mom. Mashallah, a very humble woman who built this empire. And it's been 40 years now.
Yeah.
And I recently watched your newest movie that was launched on YouTube. Pertolongan Ilahi. No, that was a book.
Pertolongan Ilahi. So it's like help from God that we have to fight for.
Mashallah. And in this movie, subhanallah, I love it that it shows the culture. It shows how it shows the present. It shows the present. It shows the past.
It's like 3 times.
Exactly, timelines, right? That was pretty impressive. But also, what I really was impressed about is that this is something intergenerational in your family. So of course I know you personally, but then Abu Nurhayat, I'm just like in awe whenever she gives a talk and from the far. And now I know also who inspired Abu Nurhayat to that. So I'm just curious, is it a cultural thing, Or is it like a family thing that you guys have? Or what are those values that you guys are driven by?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I feel like I'm privileged enough to be born in a family who the mother was from West Sumatra, because it's like, I don't know how is it in other country. Maybe you can also tell a story, but Indonesia is not really common that the woman that will lead the family, or we call it like matrilineal, right? So for me, from yeah, the first time I have a memory, I mean like 4 years old, I always see the woman is always drive
Leader.
To be the leader, right?
Yeah.
I see my aunt, I see my mother. So talking about, I think woman empowerment is not a topic in West Sumatra because
They already empowered.
they already empowered. Because if you met Bu Nur Hayati, she not like a big fan of woman empowerment, because it feels like women are weak, so all of us have to empower women, because she thinks like naturally, basically, woman is empowered.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, I think it's the way my parents, because not only my mother, I think the way my parents you know pass the value in the family is, there is a Muslim family, but also like some local Indonesia values. So yeah, it's
Oh,
interesting.
mashallah. Wow. So what is this West Sumatran, is it like an ethnic group, or is it the whole region is like that?
No, I think only from the Sumatra Island. I think it's only West Sumatra. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Subhanallah. And if I'm not mistaken, it's Padang, right?
Yeah. So the city is Padang, but people in Indonesia more familiar talk like, oh, it's orang Padang instead of orang Minang, but it's actually
It's
Minang, yeah,
Okay.
Minangkabau.
Wow. And I happen to have relatives too, because my husband is
Yeah.
also from Padang and Minang. Wow. So you were saying that you had a lot of examples of women in leadership,
Yes.
right? But when your mom started the business, she was not that young, right? Or how old was
She is 35 years old.
Yeah, which is like not that early to start a business,
Yes.
especially in today's modern world, right? So I'm just curious, did you have a feel that, or did she tell you that she's building something bigger than just a small business? Was it already envisioned at that stage, or was it something that just happened out of nowhere?
So it's interesting if this conversation, of course, when I was an adult happened, but I just realized, because for my mother to build her own business, I think she has to influence. From her mother, it's actually really simple. If you have your own business, then you will have more flexible hours, to play with your kid. So the idea of my grandmother is actually only for my mother to have her own pharmacy. At that time, 40 years ago, sometimes there is like a small pharmacy just like beside your house, so you can take a nap, and then you can drive your kids to the school, and then go to the pharmacy again. But from my grandfather, he always see that build your own business, it means that you can create jobs for others.
Mashallah.
Yeah, because at that time, long time ago, my grandfather has like a store in Padang Panjang city. Yeah.
Oh, mashallah.
So they are like a very woman point of view, and there's like a very like creating impact point of view, right?
Oh, that's amazing. So that was your mom's influence, right? Where she knew that if she is creating something, it needs to be both flexibility for me as a woman, because probably culturally and also Islamically speaking, she knows her role and responsibilities as a woman in the culture. But also she had the vision of her father, where she would like to create an impact, and she believes it's our responsibility to kind of circulate the good, I would say, right? By creating jobs for others, right?
Yeah. But I think what I learned from my mother also, like, okay, maybe the word is still the same, creating the impact, but how do you see how you can create the impact is actually evolve, right? So at that time, the background is really like from the mother point of view, because my mother used to work in like a hair care from Germany. So she used to work at a flexible hours. And then there is a new boss, the Germany boss changed the Indonesia boss, and then he said like no more flexible hours. So for her at that time, my brother's age, I think like six and 5 years old, because they only like
1 year difference.
1 year different. So it's really hard. So then she tried to make her own like a small beauty company. Yeah.
Wow, mashallah. I love that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, there's a saying, if you're not a tree, just change your position, right?
Ah,
If
yeah,
the
yeah,
environment
yeah.
is not doing well, right? So,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she
yeah.
didn't like the changes, so she created an opportunity for herself, mashallah.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
love it. But then, do you think that, of course, like she had this vision in terms of it's a bigger responsibility than just creating a business where I have the flexibility. But do you think that she knew it's gonna grow to like 15,000 employee
No.
business in several countries? No.
No. Because for her, it evolved, right?
Yeah.
So okay, there is a flexible hours, and then she think like, okay, I will move to Bandung with this salon shampoo business, because there is a good high school and university in Bandung, so I will stay there. So as simple as that.
Okay.
But I think that's what the beauty of how Allah plays, right? Because in Bandung, then we have a neighbor. The neighbor told us like 10 years when 1985 is when she began, right? In 1995, our neighbor in Bandung told her that, why don't you make a halal cosmetic?
Subhanallah.
It's like a coincidence, right?
Wow.
So it evolved, right? So she only wants to have a flexible hour, and then she has a thinking, oh, Bandung is a good city to raise my child.
Yeah.
And then the idea of Wadah come from that city.
Subhanallah.
Just like
Wow.
near our house in Bandung.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I love that you mentioned the divine part, subhanAllah, because whenever we are just trusting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the opportunities just come to us, right?
Yes.
And then here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala passed this amazing genius idea through a neighbor.
Yes,
Yeah.
because, sometimes we rather, right now there are social media, sometimes when we are thinking like about new business or new corporate, it's like a rocket science or like a very sparkling idea. But I think in Paragon we learned that it comes like from daily activity, right?
Yeah, subhanAllah. So I believe that time it was when the Islam here was kind of, it was a renaissance of Islam, right? The people starting to slowly learn, because I know that hijab was not a big thing as well, and even in the movie that you guys posted, we can see that women in the hijab were considered kind of like not evolving and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I think there are times even in 1970, or I think it's like forbidden for years wearing hijab in school.
Yeah, like in France.
And at that time in ITB, the Technology University of Bandung, the one that wear hijab, one university is only 3. It's only my mother and her sisters.
Oh,
really?
So it's really your family.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but I think there are some like political economic condition. I think at that time the government tried to make everybody is like in the same identity, Indonesia. So I think after 1998, people try to find their identity, and it's okay to be different. I think not only Muslim, and then we will have we will celebrate the Chinese New Year also. So
a lot of change. So this was basically the economical and social momentum to embrace some kind of a new innovation, which is halal cosmetics.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, for me, I think that's one of the factors. Yeah.
Because nowadays, globally, Muslim people even question, does cosmetic has to be halal? Yeah, it's still a question, right? But in Indonesia, if it's not halal, people don't buy it. Like some people, right? So
yeah, but it's interesting because we are talking about the halal preposition, but for me personally, because in February we are invited by the Harvard Business School event, right? And the moderator also asked like, why are you confident with this halal concept? Like, even are people familiar? But I told her, like, for me personally, I said I believe that halal is like a Muslim value. Maybe it sounds like very religion rooted, but it's actually a global value, because I don't know how is it in France, because in Indonesia I think it's common for us to say is my rezeki or my salary halal or not? We are not talking about pork, right?
Yeah.
So
Income. Yeah.
yeah, so I think halal is about goodness.
Yeah.
So when we are talking about halal product, it means safe, it means compliance, it means transparent, it means sustainability also.
Ethical.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just like people knowing like, oh, ikigai value from Japan is actually universal also. It's about purpose, and then there is like a Zen value. So I said that I'm quite confident. Like if people really understand about halal, it stands for like the highest quality of the product.
Mashallah, yeah, I love it. It's like halal and toyib as well, right? Toyib is the concept of ethicalness.
Yes.
Because nowadays, with what's happening in the world, with the genocide that is unfolding in front of our eyes, we can clearly see that choices matter. And especially when it comes to commercial choices, right? So I stopped using so many brands. And, luckily I was working with Paragon Corp at that time. My whole household is full of Paragon Corp products because not only I know it's halal, but also I know that they're going for good. Talking about goodness, you also do a lot of impact, right? Like with the company and yourself as well, like to impact the community and also impact those who are suffering globally as well. Like when it happened,
Yeah.
when after October 7th, right? I know that Paragon Corp was one of the biggest donors to Palestinian cause from Indonesia, right? So I think like I was quite impressed by this fact, and I remember when I was asking the leaders at Paragon Corp, like I understand the generosity and the willingness to help, but then how it happens so that it's in huge amounts, like uncomparable to other companies. And I remember like a few, C-level people told me, because this is the value of Paragon Corp. And because this is what Ibn Nur Hayati told us to do, because these are the people who've been with the company for years. And you as a daughter who's been like literally, everything was building in front of your eyes. Where do you think all these values are coming from? I understand that the father was an impact-driven person and the mother was a woman leader, but then still, do you feel like it is more of a cultural thing of like willingness to do good and spread the good, or it's your family thing?
Yeah, I understand. So I think it's maybe the beauty of family business, because people will always say like walk the talk, but for us, the beauty in Paragon is actually like talk the walk. So they already see like what Bu Nur and Pak Subakat doing every day. It's like it's like a daily interaction. So you don't have to say like we have to be on time, because Bu Nur will always be 30 minutes before meeting, right?
Yeah.
So you don't put slogan or else, because it just shows. And then I think the second one, in Paragon, the founder and the co-founder is believe that we are created in this world, it must be because for something, like Allah must have a plan, like you have to do this. And maybe in like a simple way, my brother and I always love the Spider-Man movie, the one with the Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Because with great power, it actually comes with great responsibility. That's what we believe. So right now, we have Paragon, we have 15,000 people. So we always want to create an impact, and we believe that it will multiply, because it will inspire the employee, and then the employee will inspire the family or inspire their friends, something like that.
Wow, mashallah. So, I mean, you mentioned about believing in the purpose of the responsibility is big. So whatever Allah Subhanahu wa Taala gives you, it means that there is a huger responsibility that you need to give back, right? So more you receive, more you need to give back, basically.
Yes, and I think the second one, so there is like there is like a monthly halaqah in Paragon, right? I think at that time, the scholar is Ustadz Fatih Karim, and he mentioned that when we come to the world, it's like an astronaut come to the moon, right? There is a mission. So, and then he do, I think, another story like, so when we are created, of course Allah wants us to do activity that Allah bless, right? So it's like, maybe I will make a scarf for you.
Yeah.
Guzelya, this is I know I made my own knit, I give it to you.
Yeah.
And then when I come to your house, you just put it on the floor, right? But what I meant, like, put it on your head. So I didn't bless you to do that. So I think, for me, personally, I see it that way. So, with with Paragon, with Paragon capability or my own capability. I just want to do the best and hope that this is what Allah,
Yeah.
bless me to do.
Subhanallah, I just love this. This is because I not only so Ibu Nur Hayati has 3 children, and Dr. Sari happens to be the youngest one.
Yeah.
And I spoke to all of you, and everybody explains what you just now explained in different ways.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some kind of a she does the programmation. We need to also interview Bunur Hayat Subakan one day because there is some kind of a coding that she uses that all of your children, subhanallah. So I'll give you the example. We were flying to one of the countries for the corporate event, and then I was surprised that Pa Harman was sitting right in front of me, your brother. And then I asked a few colleagues of mine, like, what is going on? Why is he here? Because it's an economy class, And it's like, yeah, because he's flying with us, not business. And it's like, no. And then I spoke to Parma, like, Parma, why are you not flying business class? Like, I don't need it. And this blew my mind because I told myself, if I had a Paragon Corp, I would definitely fly business. So it is quite impressive, like, to see this humility despite the confidence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you. And it means that there's some kind of a constant purification that is happening within your life, right? And probably within the family that probably your mother reminds. So I'm just curious, as a mother yourself, what do you think is the secret recipe to inbuilt in your children so that they take things with such a responsibility and humility?
Wow. If you ask her directly, she always said that we have to pray for our children to be better than us. So she always mentioned that, and she gets inspired by our Prophet Ibrahim, pray, so the first one. But I think as her children, I always see her like, she's not the kind of mother that always like remind us or do like heart-to-heart session like that. But she always like
no time.
But she's the kind like just lead by the example. Because the interesting one,
mashallah.
when I was a child, if I want to have some money, so she always said like, just take it from the drawer. But for her,
Trust.
For her it's about trust. It's about honesty, right?
Oh, mashallah, amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes, because when now I have 2 children, sometimes if I speak to my my daughter like, don't do this, don't do that, sometimes but my mother never did this actually. So maybe it's not the effective way.
Okay, subhanallah. So do you like, are you implementing what your mother implemented?
I'm trying to.
You're trying, yeah, mashallah. This is, I never thought of this, but my mom was the same. She would trust me.
Yes.
I remember one day I wanted to go, no, actually, they started to practice Islam. My parents started to practice Islam when I was 5. So things were new to me, but from 5, you can still absorb very quickly. And I remember as a teenager, like I think I was 13, we started to, like my classmates started to go to parties. And one day, like the school was not happening, but the party was happening. And I came back home early and my mom asked, why you're early? I said, well, there's a party. And she's like, well, why you didn't go? And I said, well, it's haram. There's going to be music, and I'm pretty sure people try to like maybe grab alcohol even, right? Because teenagers are pretty rebel at that time, right? Maybe now as well. So, and then she's like, but you should have gone. Like, I know that you know your limit, and I know you're not going to do anything bad. And then I was so impressed, like, how can she trust me? I mean, so even me, I was afraid to do that, but her trust actually helped me to explore beyond, like be actually more brave with things that I'm afraid of, and yet know the limit. So I think you have to be a pretty empowered mother to be able to trust your children to that extent. Because like you're saying, it's difficult for you to trust fully your child, right? And the same that I'm experiencing, although my child is small, sometimes when he tells me an information, I'm like, are you sure? I need to re-ask.
When I was a child, until before married, I think I just took it like for granted. But when I have my own children, like, oh, their parenthood is very advanced, It's like very modern thinking at that time.
Yeah, it's pretty modern. So you would say the secret recipe is the ability to obviously praying, and then secondly is leading by example, and thirdly by just trusting. Right? Yeah, because probably trusting also gives children confidence, especially daughters. Because
Yeah.
although you were saying that in 1985 when she started the business, it was a bit rare to see women like leading on a global scale. But even now, right, like women are less paid than men. Of course, in some parts of the world, it's a little bit better. But globally speaking, why the women empowerment is such a mainstream topic is because we can still observe that women are not being treated equally to men when it comes to skills that are comparable to,
Yeah, and talking about trust and talking about movie before, I just remember, Burati, right?
of course, yeah,
Pak Harman's
the wife, yeah.
wife. So yeah, in during Ramadan we had like an interview with Barati and also the director Mbak Gina, and she said like see the movie and flashback. What she learned the best from Bunur is always have like a good prejudice to the God, right? To Allah. It sounds simple, but it's not easy,
I see
right?
what you mean.
Sometimes you ask why me?
Yeah.
Why is it like that? But when Bunur gives trust to her children, it's because she has a good prejudice to
Yeah.
Allah that Allah will protect her children, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the total tawakkul, I would say, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's why in the movie, I think Bagina tried to make like when they had on holiday and they
Yeah.
don't bring any rice, so she just knock like any house like, can I cook rice in your
Yeah.
house, because
Yeah.
she just has a good prejudice of Allah and she has good prejudice on people everywhere, right?
Yeah. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says that I'm as my
As good as
as good as my servant thinks of me,
Yes.
right? So I think this is important, subhanAllah. It's a basically positive mindset, I would say.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I know that your journey has been, there were ups and downs. Obviously, today we see Paragon Corp as one of the leading cosmetics group in Indonesia and one of the leading in Southeast Asia. Your laboratories are awesome and the biggest one. Your cosmetics products are of the global standard. And every single detail that a company that creates cosmetics could excel, mashallah, you guys are excelling. But obviously, there were ups and downs.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious. Of course, this is a family business, which makes it even more complicated, right? So what were those challenges for you? If you could share like one huge professional and personal challenge that you faced throughout this journey.
Okay, I think the first challenge is because our house is near each other.
Oh yeah, and the office too.
What is working hour? I don't know. I don't know that term. So I think it's quite challenging, when we met at night and still talking about business. And then the second one, I think, to have like, argument sometimes maybe with your parents. Oh, it's not like a heated argument, but still for me, because maybe I'm the little child and the only the only girl, is not like really comfortable,
the princess of the family,
to have argument with my dad or with my brothers. And I think the third one, I think, is this very common problems in a woman that working but still have a child. So I forget, it's I think in 2016 or 2017. So when my child has he was like five years old. So I just realized that his weight is not catching up. Yeah, I think at that time me personally, I feel struggle, and then because I think the other challenge is different with my brother. So my brother joined Paragon in 2001, 2002. So it's actually like being co-founder, because it's growing big when they come. But for me, it's already big, right? So like my first day going to office is like, I already feel like a big baggage. It's like overthinking with what people will think. How will I greet them? Do I have to lead the meeting, something like that? So, but it's a many interesting experience. But I think it builds you, right?
So this was in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Wow. But still, like now, it's really hard to believe that your children are already teenagers, right?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned,
it's
16.
Another hard era from being like a picky eater, and then like now like
Yeah, I think like definitely those toddler times are super full of struggle, and then you got teenagers, right? So do they also feel like they're part of this?
Yeah. I think they have like a different teenager era than me because I went to high school in like 1999, and at that time is Wada is still really small because Wada is growing in 2008. 2008 to 2010. So when Wada is grow, I already finished my college. But right now, yeah, try to lay down as down that as we
Yeah.
can. But but yeah, I try. Yeah, but I think they can handle it because because they are because I think they know that their grandmother built something really big, but is my grandmother works is not me.
Yeah.
I think they see
Amazing.
it that way.
So they
Yeah.
see themselves as well, like being part of this and
Yeah.
contributing inshallah in the
Yeah.
future. Especially all of you, like 3 kids, are involved deeply in every single aspect of the business. So obviously this gives them the example as well.
Yes.
Just like one of the values of your family, leading by example.
Example. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a good example to the third
Yeah.
generation.
Alhamdulillah. And what I also like that each of you have the expertise that fulfills the company's needs.
Yeah.
Right, so like you're a dermatologist
Yeah.
yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you also developed another brand, which is Labore,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, by the way, I use it. Yeah, so but behind the recognitions of Paragon Corp and all the work that you do yourself for the company and beyond, what is this? What is the purpose that is guiding you? You personally, Dr. Sari.
Yeah, I think for me personally, again from another, I was privileged enough to have an office that have like a monthly. I think at that time
It's called Money Halaka.
It's like monthly. It's
A
like
monthly,
monthly,
sorry. Yeah.
So I think it's Ustad Wimar. So he asked at the beginning of his session, like we always used to say like, oh, hopefully it will be berkah, like what do you think the meaning of barokah? So he said that the meaning of the barokah, it will get you closer to Allah, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think that what because he said like, if you are sick, it can be barokah, it can be not, right? Because if you sometimes sickness can get you closer to Allah, or you can be blaming, and also wealth and also health, right?
Everything is a
It can
test.
Everything is a test. So for me, I think I see our works is as like a test, and hopefully like each of our activity is getting closer to Allah. I think that's that makes me like going here and going to the factory and going to the airport, because maybe because we see like the bigger purpose of the activity, right?
MashaAllah. This is amazing because you're giving this example to your daughter as well, right? But I'm just curious for the young women and also us here, what would be this one advice that you would give? Because of course you already had this mother that built this amazing empire, but some of us just dreaming about it, right? And hoping to build one ourselves, let's say. And what advice would you give them?
I think I I always like Bunur advice, because for her, when we talk about creating legacy, creating an impact, it doesn't always be like, because it always depends on you. And she always told me like, okay, even though you didn't work, you just stay at home mom, but you can do more, right? Like build a library maybe in your house, or maybe in Indonesia we have posyandu, where kids can get, maybe you can have posyandu every month in your house.
What is it, posyandu?
Posyandu is like a government program, so to make sure everyone in the community gets vaccinated.
Oh, vaccination.
So they will need someone to volunteer, like you can use my house, as a place for the vaccination. So I think Bunur always teach us that creating an impact and legacy is, just do anything that you can do, start by yourself, and like what you can have, like. And in this April, when we are talking about Bu Kartini, I think what interesting about her, she start with what she has. She has a pen, right? So she started only like to articulate her thinking, her concern. I think she also had no idea that
Yeah.
the book will be still read in 2025.
Yeah.
So I think talking about, many people wants to do more. Yeah, I think we just start like with what you like, what you can do, with what you have.
Mashallah. This motivates me as a founder of Luminihsan.
Yeah, you
Together
start
with my
the
founding
podcast,
team
right?
friends. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we also want to create some kind of impact and we just don't know what to do, and then we decided to do this.
Yeah, maybe some people
Guys.
will start to
Yeah.
write,
Yeah.
right, in
Yeah,
her
mashallah.
Instagram.
That's an awesome advice.
Yeah.
But I still do believe that, mashallah, like, Paragon Corp is still will grow further, inshallah, and the impact will be
Amin.
further. And now
Mm.
in Malaysia also it's creating amazing impact. There is also involvement with global communities,
Yes.
right? And also global Muslim communities as well, empowerment, and also in terms of the CSR, right?
Yeah.
And but I still would like to ask you, like, what do you think, apart from creating the amazing business that inshallah inspires the whole globe, what would be another meaningful legacy that you would like to leave in this dunya?
In this dunya, I think for me personally, I always want to see, because I think right now Indonesia will always be the country of the consumer. But I think the industry should be built here. I mean, I want to see Indonesia as like a developed country where there are skilled labor, in IT or in R&D, in raw material, in technology. I think for me that. And then the second one, I always thought to my R&D team, I hope like one day there will be Indonesian Muslim receiving Nobel Prize Award. But that means like Indonesian scientist is already in like a new horizon, right?
Yeah.
And I hope it will be one of the Paragon alumni maybe or something like from Paragon. So I think that too is becoming like my personal ambition in dunia. Yeah.
I love it. And but talking about the education, right, and empowerment of the youth, Paragon itself does a lot of initiatives, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe you can share one of the ways that you guys are. I know that this might be your dream, but I know that you're also trying to create the platforms for that, right, to find out this talent.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite program and quite proud of it, we are giving scholarship. But when my brother has an idea that we should create Wadah Inspiring Teacher, because sometimes we forget, the teacher is the one that will spend hours or maybe 8 hours, right, with our children. So even though we have a lot of scholarship, but when the student is not inspired by the one that he or she met like in 8 hours.
Receives the knowledge.
Yeah, but when they met with like an inspiring person, that they can grow.
Yeah, I know. What an inspiring teacher. How many teachers that graduated?
I think already 14,000.
Wow, mashallah, amazing. Yeah. And apart from that, I think there is like Novo Club as well, right? For the students,
for the
right?
students,
I love it, mashallah. Wow, Dr. Sari, I'm super impressed. One of my biggest objective is for, like more Paragon Corps being in this world, I would think this would be also
our dream.
This is our dream, and hopefully, inshallah, more people can watch the movie to understand the story behind the founder. Can you repeat the name again?
Mengusahakan pertolongan ilahi.
But if you go to Warda's page and Paragon Corp page on YouTube, right?
It's in Paragon.
In Paragon.
Corp.
Paragon Corp's page on YouTube, you can find it and with English subtitles.
Yes, with English
and you can explore the beauty of Padang region as well. So I would definitely suggest watching it. Dr. Sari, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
and
Guzel.
being here. Barakallah fiik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.